Welcome to Write with Love. I'm your host, Sarah Williams, best-selling author, speaker, and creative entrepreneur. Each week, I chat to passionate and inspiring authors about their journey in creative writing. Some are traditionally published, some do it themselves. Everyone's journey is different, and everyone has something interesting to say. We all love love and love what we do. Today's show is brought to you by our amazing fans and supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to help support the show and get some awesome bonus episodes, go to patreon.com/Sarah Williams Author to learn more. Now here's today's show. G'day and welcome to Write with Love. Today on the show, I'm chatting to Tara Sivec. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, and especially thank you for saying my name right.
Oh, actually, as I said it, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't double check I said it right.
That was so exciting for me. It took my breath away there for a second. I almost didn't recognize it. I'm not used to people saying it right.
What do they normally say?
It's normally Tara. It's always Tara for my first name. And the last name is usually Sivec. They kind of mix that up a little bit. So, and then,
actually, I didn't even know about the Tara thing. I was like, oh yeah, I'm talking to an American now that you say that. Are you with Tara? I can totally go back to Tara.
Yep. Nope. I'm good. I'm so excited.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. All right. Well, we have lots to talk about. And as you can tell, I'm just so giddy to be talking to you. It's so just, made my day, made my month, really, that you were going to come on.
Aww.
So we'll
I'm happy to be here.
We'll share with everyone just why you're so awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your journey to publication?
Oh my gosh. Well, on the day I was born, no, I'm kidding. That'll take forever. I'm not going to bore you with, my whole childhood, but basically, I started writing Twilight fan fiction. I was a Twilight nerd, and I found out about Twilight fan fiction because I wanted to read, more once I finished those books. Then I found out, fan fiction had dirty versions of Twilight, and all right, then I'm all about that. And I just became obsessed with Twilight fan fiction. And I had started writing stories before then, but I was like, I'm going to see if I can do this. And some of my friends, were like, you should put this on this fan fiction website. And I had a lot of people telling me they loved what I wrote. And after a while, I decided to pull my fan fiction story and publish it. And that was Seduction and Snacks, my first book. And it was crazy. I always say I published just at the right time. It was in summer of 2012, and self-publishing was kind of, blowing up then, but I didn't really know that. I had started out the regular way. I sent 1 million query letters to agents and publishers and, got 1 million rejection letters back. And then I just Googled how to publish my book myself and found out about Amazon KDP and crap. And it went very quick. I don't even know what happened. It was like one day I sold 2 copies in a month, and the next month I was selling a ton. It just, word of mouth was huge back then. In 2012, if 2 people posted about it on Facebook, within an hour later, everybody was sharing it, and you saw what everybody posted, and it was just a crazy time. I really feel like I just got very, very lucky with when I published. And it's been 7 years now. Yeah. 7 years and I think 40 books.
40 and
yes, I think it's 40. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. I'm so crazy.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh. So
it's been a crazy ride.
You're doing this full time. You don't have kids at home.
Full time. Yeah, I have. I'm doing this full time. I quit my job of 15 years 3 months after I published my first book. I'd published a second book by then, and things were just going very, very well, and I just wanted to focus on it. So I've been doing it full time since then. This is it. This is what I do all day, every day, 24/7.
Living the dream. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. Some days it's a dream, some days it's a nightmare, depending what day.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So you write in multiple genres, and like, oh, this is insane. I'm going to read your
I
list.
do.
Romantic comedy.
Go for it.
Romantic comedy, romantic suspense, erotic romantic suspense, romantic mystery / comedy, contemporary romance, and psychological thriller. That's insane.
Yeah, let's just throw that one in at the end, just to throw people off.
Do you ever get a little confused? I'm going to write a psychological thriller, which is actually...
I know, I do. I'm like, what am I doing? That's the beauty of this job, is you can be as creative as you want, and I kind of just let the voices in my head tell me what to do, as long as, it's not illegal. So
yeah, no,
you know.
And you publish all of them under your own name as well, which I think is really interesting, because a lot of people will say, if you're going to do something completely different, like psychological thriller, use a different name, but you didn't do that.
Yep. My first three books. My first three books were romantic comedies, completely over the top funny. And then the next book I wrote was a romantic suspense, completely different genre. And so I decided to do just kind of a different version of my name and publish that under Tara Sivec, thinking that'll differentiate the two so people won't get confused. They won't, download this book thinking, oh, this is going to be hilarious. It didn't work. People still left reviews like, I really thought this was going to be funny. It was so not funny. Too much suspense. So it kind of backfired, and then it just made like double the work for me, because I had a second Goodreads page and I had like a second email. It was too much, and I kind of quickly regretted it. So I actually went through and had my full name. I still haven't done it to the covers. That is on my never-ending to-do list, but I just added my full name to everything else, just so it was easily searchable, because I was still going to get those questions regardless. So it was kind of a dumb idea. So that one series of 4 books is the only ones I have that are under Tara Sivec.
Awesome.
One of these days I'll go back and change it. But when I first published, I didn't think anyone was going to read my book. So, why wouldn't I use my own name? I kind of published just to be like, hey, I published a book. Like, look at how cool this is. And so, I'm going to use my real name because I was proud of it. And then it just blew up. Yep. But I don't regret it. It's easier. I don't have to listen for someone else to call a different name and try and remember to answer to that. That's too much for my brain to handle.
Yeah, I agree. I know so many people, and they're like, this is my pen name, but then I find out 3 years after I've met them that that's not their real name, and it's really confusing.
Yeah, same. And you're like, what? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can only call you by your pen name. And I have a really close friend of mine who, she writes under a pen name, and I know her real name, but I just cannot call her by that real name when we're even when we're just together. I just can't. I'm so used to the pen name.
So funny.
Too much for me.
Oh my gosh. So are you completely an indie, or do you have any books traditionally published?
I am a hybrid. I have a bunch of traditionally published books. It's almost half and half. It's close to half and half of traditional and self-published.
And did you go after the traditional deals, even though you were having all this success, or did they come and headhunt you?
They came to me. They came to me first, because it really, I guess it's something that I always wanted. It kind of felt official, when you think about it, to be with an actual, a publisher instead of doing it on your own. And it takes a little bit of the pressure off too. You're not in charge of everything, finding an editor, finding a cover designer, So it was something I wanted, but it wasn't really something I was, moving towards. I was busy, writing my own self-published books, and nope, they had come to me, and thank goodness I had some ideas in the back burner that kind of helped. So,
oh, that's so cool.
But yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, you're obviously a very funny person, because I have just listened. The reason I wanted to get you on the show so bad is because I recently was listening to an audiobook. Everyone who listens to the show knows I'm obsessed with audiobooks. And it was recommended because one of my favorite all-time narrators, Andy Arndt, who was on the show last year, narrated it. And it's called Heidi's Guide to Four-Letter Words. And I will tell you, I'm on my fourth or possibly even fifth listen through. And every time,
That's amazing.
giggling like a stupid person in my car while I'm listening to it.
You've listened to it more than I have. I love it.
Oh, it's just so funny. I just can't get over it, and it's performed so well. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. This is the best performance ever. It is just
she did such an amazing job. And I don't know if you know this, the book takes place in Minnesota, and we went back there because she grew up there. So we went to a recording studio there so she could record the book and like be around her family and kind of get back into the groove of like, you know, the accent that's there. And sure enough, like as soon as we walked into her parents' home and she opened her mouth, that accent just kind of naturally came out of her. And and then we went to the studio, and just to watch her do her thing in person was the most magical experience of my life, watching her do that.
Yeah.
And she just took it to another level. She did Heidi so proud. Oh.
It's so fantastic. Just for the people who haven't obviously listened or read it yet, give us a bit of a story outline so people can, you know, it's going to make more sense when they know what the story's about.
So basically our girl Heidi is kind of a sweet, shy, innocent kindergarten teacher from Waconia, Minnesota. And she gets let go from her job, and she's kind of floundering, and she's lost, and she doesn't know what to do. And she has a family that's very sweet but meddling, and they just want her to be a teacher, and she kind of realizes she doesn't want that for herself anymore. So she takes a job actually at a audio recording studio, coincidentally, and finds out once she's working there that they actually record dirty books. They don't record the sweet Amish romances that she is familiar with and adores. So she's a little bit freaked out, and she happens to take home some podcast equipment, and a box of wine happens, and before you know it, our young, sweet and innocent Heidi starts a podcast where she reads just the dirty parts of romance books to kind of get her out there and boost her confidence.
Yeah.
And then hilarity ensues.
That's it. And she's got this neighbor that she's got a crush on, and oh my God.
Oh, yes, our sexy next door neighbor, Brent, that she thinks has no clue who she is. Little does she know. And he's just, you know, your average, just a good guy, good next door, hot guy.
Yeah. No, it's
love Brent.
Just so freaking funny. So you actually co-wrote it with Andy. Did you guys know each other before, or how did that happen?
Sort of. We knew each other professionally. She narrated one of my contemporary romances, Fisher's Light, back in 2015. And I think maybe we had one email exchange about how to pronounce my name. She wanted to make sure she said my name correctly. And, you know, I knew who she was. I love her and her work. And I got this email from her. It's probably almost 2 years ago now, just out of the blue, saying she had this romantic comedy story idea. And she was at a book convention talking about it with some people, and they were like, oh my gosh, you need to tell Audible. That's a great idea. And Audible heard about it, and they suggested she contact me because they thought I would be a good person to help her bring that story to life. So she wrote me this email and told me about the story idea, and we got on a phone call, and just we just clicked because we're both Midwestern girls. And, you know, all the stuff she was telling me about Heidi, I'm like, yeah, and her family, I'm like, yes, you know, I have an aunt that does this and that. And she'd be like, oh my gosh, let me tell you the story about my aunt. And we just kept going back and forth. And I just completely fell in love with this story of Heidi when she told me about it. And I'm like, yes, we're doing this 100%. Let's go. Let's do this.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. I'm just, even just talking to you, I'm remembering that scene where she's drunk and she sends Brent a voice, and she dictates it into her phone. Oh my God, it's the best scene. I play that to everyone. I'm like, this is your next download.
I am so proud of that autocorrect because it took me, I want to say, 2 hours. I sat there and used the thesaurus and Google coming up with words that like sounded similar to the original, what she was trying to say, that were funny, but kind of still made sense. It took me forever to find a good autocorrect.
Yeah.
But I'm so proud of the
as soon as she decided to dictate it into her phone, I was going, well, yep, this is going somewhere.
Yeah, this is going to end badly.
Love it. So original. Oh my gosh, is there going to be a sequel or anything? Do we?
Nope, not at this time. We're just we keep saying when people ask that we're still on our Heidi moon. So we're still enjoying the love of Heidi. And I don't know, who knows what'll happen in the future, but right now we're just enjoying our girl Heidi and how much everybody is loving her. It's kind of crazy to us.
She's just so fantastic.
I mean, we loved her.
I do. I
loved her, and we didn't know so many other people would love her. So it's been a very nice surprise.
But it's really funny too, because I'm living in Australia and I'm from New Zealand. And even though I've lived in America, but I lived in North Carolina. And so a lot of the international people who listen wouldn't, may have a slight idea of what Minnesota is like, but you get to teach us so much about it, and you're just imagining this whole it's like this whole other world to us.
I know. And what's funny is that a couple of the scenes I wrote before we had gone, I'd gone to Minnesota. By the time we'd gone to Minnesota, the book was finished, and we had finished writing the book a while before that. But as I'm there and with her family, I'm like, wow, we really nailed this. I knew she would because, she grew up there, but it's wow, yep, we got this right. So it was perfect.
I also love the part where I forget her name, the writer in the book, and she's trying to put on
Aubrey.
Yes, Aubrey, and she's trying to put on a Minnesota accent, and then Heidi gets at her that it's just too Canadian. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, because that was every time I would attempt it, on the phone with Andy, I'm like, oh my gosh, why do I sound Canadian? I just can't do it. I can't.
Oh, it's hilarious. I absolutely love it. So everyone needs to go. Is it just on Audible?
It is just on Audible right now. It's an Audible original. So we specifically wrote it as an audiobook, but it'll come out as an ebook and a paperback on December 3rd.
Awesome. So, and you can, anyone who's listening or watching and does want to listen to it, and listen to it. It's brilliant. You have to listen to it.
Please do.
Yes.
Please do.
Just jump on Audible, and it's not as scary as it sounds, people. It's just it's all right, and you won't regret it once you listen to this one. This is the book that will hook anyone into listening to audiobooks. If you're into the kind of steamy romance, because it's erotic.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
I mean,
Heidi gets a little dirty.
Yeah, the Heidi's podcast is called Heidi's Discount Erotica. So,
yes, it
is. So another recent release that you had, which was, because you can just write too fast. So this was only a couple of months ago.
I know.
Was called Just My Type. So can you tell us about that one?
Yes. it's a little bit of a spin-off from a book I released last October called The Simple Life. If anyone is looking for a fall, autumn type romantic comedy, this one, The Simple Life, takes place on a pumpkin farm. But the hero in that book, his sister, her name is Ember. And so Just My Type is her book. And she moved away from the family pumpkin farm with her husband and son to Chicago for his job. And she's miserable there, doesn't really like it. And, moved just for him. She has no family, no friends, and he works a lot. So he's not really helping her adjust to the city. And then one day, a couple of months after she's, rearranged her life for him, he tells her he doesn't want to be married anymore. So the book kind of starts off with her being down in the dumps, and, she had to scramble to find a job because it's expensive to live in Chicago. And, she was a stay-at-home mom, just taking care of her son while she was there. And so she takes a job being a transcriptionist. And I used to do some transcription work back in the day. So I did have some very, very crazy things I had to listen to and transcribe that may or may not have made it into this book a little bit. The names are changed to protect the guilty. And so there's a problem with the transcription company, and the client gets a hold of some personal notes that she took about him and the way he spoke. Like he maybe had some shit in his mouth. He should enunciate a little better. So he got a hold of these notes he wasn't supposed to, and so he emailed her, and they start emailing back and forth. And again, hilarity ensues. And he convinces her to come work for him because he needs some notes typed up for a work thing he has to do. And she decides to work for him, and of course they fall in love because it's a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
But yes, there's a hedgehog named Ron Jeremy in it, so you should not miss that.
Oh, if there's a hedgehog, I'm totally there. Fantastic. And is that one out on audio
You
as
had
well?
me at Ron Jeremy. It is. It just came out on audio not that long ago.
Fantastic.
But yes, it is on audio, and so is The Simple Life. They are both on audio.
Brilliant. I love that authors are just, doing this with audio, and I love it. I'm almost exclusive an audio listener now. I'm running around. I have 4 young kids, so I run around a lot. And I'm like, no. I'm not going there.
And I have teenagers, so I'm, the chauffeur. So as soon as I boot them out the car, I turn on my audiobook, and it's awesome. I actually don't mind driving them around because I'm like, ooh, good. I'm at a good part in my book. Who wants to go somewhere? Who wants a ride?
You can be late. I'll get that extra half an hour. Oh, fantastic.
Right?
What are you working on at the moment?
I am actually working Just My Type and The Simple Life. They're both standalones, but they're kind of connected. They have, some intermingling people, but they each can be read as a standalone. They're both about different couples. And there's going to be a third one in that kind of group of standalones, and it is called Otterly Scorched. It's about an otter handler at a zoo who is a sexy, mysterious, grumpy man. So I'm working on that, and I also had just this crazy idea hit me that might have something to do with Christmas time. So I'm a little obsessed with it right now, so we'll see what happens. Excellent. If I can get it done in time.
Yeah.
If I get crazy enough.
Oh, I love that.
So I kind of have 2 things going on in my head at once.
Yeah. So you're like 2 months away from Christmas, and you're like, let's put out a Christmas story.
I know, why not?
Yeah.
That's what I do. I am the worst at planning. The worst.
Yeah.
I like just like pulling an idea out of my ass and being like, okay, I'm going to write it and publish it, in a month.
Oh,
here you go.
Gosh, I wish I could do that.
I'm so crazy.
That is just insane. Where can we find you online and keep up with all these books that you're publishing?
I don't remember how many I've written. I think it's 40, but I could be off by 1 or 2. So I really don't keep track. It's very hard for me to keep track. I have to refer to like Amazon every once in a while. Like, okay, let me count these again.
Yeah.
I have a website. I'm going to warn you that it's a hot mess right now because it's in the process of being rebuilt and kind of redesigned. So there's a lot of parts on it that aren't working right now. But it's just my name, tarasivec.com. And that's pretty much what everything is. That's what my Instagram is. I think that one's actually author Tara Sivec, but Twitter's Tara Sivec, Facebook's Tara Sivec. It's my name everywhere. I made it easy.
That's it.
Otherwise, again, I would forget. If I needed something else, I'd forget what it was. So.
Oh, I forget mine all the time.
Barely remember my name.
Well, thank you so much for coming on to the show today, Tara. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Of course.
Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Jump onto my website, sarahwilliamsauthor.com, and join my mailing list to receive a free preview of my books and lots of other inspiration. If you like the show and want it to continue, you can become a sponsor for just a couple of dollars a month. Go to patreon.com/sarahwilliamsauthor. And remember to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a review of the podcast. I'll be back next week with another loved up episode. Bye!